Okay, so I got a new thermal imager, and I just want to go over why I went with this unit over others. This is the UTI 690B. It is made by UNI-T. They're calling this the UNI-T Pro. I'm going to go over the specs of this, why I went with this one over others, and we're going to be comparing it to this Innova 3360. I've had this one for a couple years now, I think, and it's always gotten me by, but when compared to this one, there is absolutely a night and day difference. So this is made by a company called UNI-T. They are a Chinese company, but they actually make decent quality products. They make multimeters and all kinds of other electronic devices. And their stuff is actually a fairly highly rated device. So I'm just going to go over some of the specs. Now, I believe that the UTI 690B, which is this one, is the replacement for the UTI 260B. The 260B, I believe, has been around maybe about a year, maybe a little less. And this, I believe, is the replacement for that. Whenever you look up a lot of UTI 690B information, the UTI 260B actually pops up. So when I ordered this, I wasn't sure what I was going to get, because I've heard that other people have went to order this 690B and they actually received the 260B. So just be on the lookout for that. So let's turn this around and kind of go over some of the specs. So the temperature range that this will go down to and up to is -4 degrees Fahrenheit to 1022 degrees Fahrenheit, or -20 degrees Celsius to 550 degrees Celsius. IR resolution, meaning this the sensor of this infrared camera, is 256 by 192, which is pretty high. This one here is 32 by 32. Just to give you an idea of how much higher the infrared sensor is, the resolution is on this camera versus the Innova. This has a frame rate of about 25 hertz, almost fluid to the eye. This one, 7 hertz. What else we got here? It's got three extra measuring points. Field of view is 56 degrees by 42 degrees. Now, this is an important spec. So if you're looking for a camera, the thermal sensitivity, the lower this number, this is millikelvins, is what MK stands for. The lower that number, the better. Now, this is saying 50 MK. It actually says less than 50 MK. So I'm going to assume it's probably real close to 50 MK. In the instruction manual for this unit, it says 60 MK. So, and we're going to say it's between 50 and 60 MK, millikelvins. For instance, this one, the Innova, 200 and, what was it? Let me refer to my notes here. 254 millikelvins is what the Innova is. That's an important spec. You do want to get one that's got a lower MK number than one that's got a higher. Makes a huge difference. Even if the infrared resolution's not quite as high as this one, you want this thermal sensitivity to be lower. Go down here. It is a Type-C, so the USB cord that plugs into the computer is a USB-C, not a micro USB. I always like anything with a Type-C USB cord instead of that micro USB. It does have a 5,000 milliamp battery. Now, a lot of people say they don't know how you can take this apart. I'll show you what I have found on it. I have not taken it apart, but I do believe you'll be able to take this apart, and I'll show you why I say that. The battery life is about 6 hours, it says. Charge time is about 4 hours. Does have a micro SD card slot, and we're going to put a 64 gig card in it, and we'll format it and make sure that it recognizes it. Now it says accessories, USB data cable, 16 gig TFSD card. Well, I didn't find a 16 gig card in with mine. And then you got the manual. Now maybe I missed the card. I'll have to look harder and see. But as of right now, I did not find a SD card anywhere in the box. So let's go ahead and open this, and let's do some comparisons. Let's come with a nice manual. This has got a card. It's all in Chinese, except for this little bit right here that says November 2021. So I'm assuming that's when it was made. Now the manual's not bad. Of course, the first half of it is in Chinese, but the second half is all in English. The only problem I have with the manual is it'll tell you, for instance, we'll just look at this measurements. It says measurements, and here in the measurements display, it's got emissivity, which is, there's a chart on the back of this, and I'll show it to you. The reflectivity, basically, of the heat coming off of different materials like plastic, metal, wood, stuff like that. And you can change that. Well, also you got ambient temp, distance, and temp, I guess, compensation. And it tells you how to change those settings, but it doesn't tell you why you would need to or want to. For instance, ambient temp. Why do I need to put a particular ambient temp in the settings? I mean, you can go from indoors, which might be 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and then step outside where it might be 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Do I need to change that? I don't know. It doesn't really say why, I need to change the ambient temp. Some of this stuff is actually self-explanatory. Distance, well, depending on how far away you are from something, you'd want to change the distance. Temp compensation, if that's the correct, it just says temp comp. I'm assuming that's compensation. Yeah, what do I need to change that for? I'm not sure. And that's the way a lot of this stuff is. Most of it's self-explanatory. You got your high-low alert, you can turn that on and off. And we'll go through the settings real quick. But it doesn't really tell you a whole lot about what some of the settings are for. Sometimes it does have a note down here that kind of tells you, for instance, USB mode. USB disk mode allows users to browse pictures and analyze data on a PC, while USB camera mode allows users to realize real-time image projection after connecting to a PC. It'd be nice to have, that sort of thing on pretty much every different setting that you can have. Now here's the emissivity chart. You got wood, which they're saying got an emissivity of 0.85. Water is 0.96. Brick is 0.75. So depending on what you're trying to get a measurement from, you've got a chart here. Now, what would be nice is if this chart was built into the camera, meaning that you could pull it up at any given time and select. Let's say you go down and you select copper plate. Man, you select it and it changes the emissivity right there in the camera itself. Instead of you having to look at a chart that you may not have with you, chart I plan on keeping the chart in this box. I'll have the camera out in the field, using it, and I may need to change the emissivity. Well, I don't know what the emissivity is for a particular material. Now, what you can do is you can snap a picture of this and keep it on the SD card. That way you can always bring that picture up and take a look at it. But like I say, it'd be nice if this was a built-in function in the settings to where you could scroll through, pick out, for instance, human skin, 0.98. You'd select that, and that would change it to 0.98. That'd be nice to have. Now, even on my iNova, it's the same way. It's got a chart that you've got to select the emissivity manually. But anyway, there's the manual. Let's go ahead and get to the camera. It does come in a nice box. I mean, the box is nice, and it is very well protected. So here's the camera itself. And like I say, we'll get to that. Now, what it's got, about the only thing that I was able to find, well, looky there. So I didn't look very hard. So it does indeed come with a 16 gig SD card. It was down in this hole here, so that I didn't see it. It does come with a nice long USB. This is another thing I like about this particular camera. It's a USB-C style connector, not the micro USB. So that's definitely a very good thing in my opinion. Okay, so just the first thing I want to show is the size difference of these two cameras. This is a lot bigger camera, but the screen's bigger, the resolution's bigger, everything about it. It is nicely built. It's got a nice silicone, I think it's a silicone rubber material. Very well protected, it appears. Feels solid, does have a little bit of weight to it. It is IP65 rated, 2 meters. You can drop this from a 2 meter height, supposedly, and it will survive it. You can see here UTI-690B, professional thermal imager, minus 20C to 550C, or 5. Now this is saying 5 degrees Fahrenheit, not a -5. And I think 5 degrees is more accurate. I think 5 degrees is -20 degrees Celsius, up to 1,022 degrees Fahrenheit. Thermal resolution of 256 by 192. Now, it does not come with any kind of a cover for the front, but if you have a 3D printer, you can download this cover that some guy, I did not get his title on Thingiverse. I'm going to put a link to this. If you print it with TPU filament, and it does a very good job of snapping right on the front of the camera. Very well designed. I mean, it's built perfect for this camera. There's about 4 or 5 cameras that it says in the description that this will fit. It does not say specifically that the 690B, that it fits it, but it does fit the UTI 260B. This looks like the exact camera, except for the specs are slightly different on this one. But like I say, if you want a cover, a lens cover, very, very nicely made lens cover. So there's that. So let's go ahead and turn this thing on. Oh, real quick, just so you know. So if you want to take this apart, if you look right here on the back of the handle, and hopefully you're going to be able to see this. I don't really have anything to point, but this particular recess right here and this one right here. So the first one and the last one appear to be able to be pulled off. They are not molded in like these are right here. They're not part of the actual handle. This is a separate insert, as is this one. And it looks like you could pop these off. I tried to pop it off a little bit with a screwdriver, It didn't really want to come, so I don't know if they're glued in or if they're just pressed in real tight. But since this is brand new and I don't want to peel these off, uh, on the first day of owning this, I'll wait till the battery gets weak and doesn't really hold a charge. And at that point, you're not out nothing. I'm going to peel these off. There's probably, my guess would be a screw here, and a screw here, and then you'll be able to snap this back off and probably get to the battery that is inside here. Now the battery, it does say here in the manual what kind of battery this thing has. Let me find it. Okay, so the battery is a 26650 Li-ion battery, 5,000 milliamp. Hopefully that's coming through. So that is a pretty common battery. You can order them off the internet. So we're going to go ahead and fire this thing up. Let me show you So you got your SD card slot, and then you got your USB-C connector right there. It does have your common, I believe this is quarter 20 threaded common camera mount, or tripod, whatever you want to call it, to where you can mount this, just like you would a 35 millimeter camera. So I'll tell you what, before we turn it on, let's go ahead and stick this 16 gig SD card in here. And you guys know as well as I do, you don't want to force this in one way or the other. Make sure it goes in and wants to. Okay, perfect. I have already charged this, by the way, so it should be fully charged. Now, to turn it on, it says that, it's got a few seconds to boot up and also to turn off. They recommend, while it's going through that stage, don't be trying to hit buttons. So I'm going to hold the button for a couple seconds. And there it is. Up and ready to go. So I've got a few things out here, and then we're going to go out on the car, and I'm going to show you some useful things that you can do with this on the car. So right now, what I've got, I'm going to try to hold this. I've just got a little camera. Got a camera. I've got my cell phone on its charger. I've got a battery on the charger there for my drill, and then we're going to see what it looks like there with all the devices plugged into an electrical outlet. Actually, this is what we want. So there's the camera itself. There's my phone. There's that battery and charger. And then there are the devices that's plugged in. Just to give you an idea of just how useful this is at detecting heat. Now, before we go into the settings of this, I want to do the same thing with this one, just to show you give you an idea of. Just got to hit the on button. Okay. There's the phone. The phone's hardly detectable. That's where the thermal sensitivity comes in. The camera's hot enough to where it's able to pick it up, no problem. The phone is just barely hotter than the ambient temperature around it. So although it is picking it up, it's having a harder time doing it. There's the drill battery. And of course there's the so although the Innova does work, the resolution's just not quite what the UNI-T is. And that's just beautiful resolution on the UNI-T, in my opinion. So there's the cord. You can even see the heat that the cord's putting out. And I don't know if the just to give you an idea, we got some fluorescent lights. Hot water heater just kicked on, so we'll go over there and we'll check it too. There's an LED light. Guess the LED light's that one right there. Another fluorescent light. Let's go over here to the hot water tank. So very nice. Okay, so now we're just going to go over the specs, then we're going to go out to the car. Give me a minute to get set up. So I'm just going to go into settings, which I believe is, if you hit this button once, the bottom menu pulls up, and then you can scroll side to side. So first, measurement, you've got high-low, center spot, high-low, or region of interest. You got palette, got your different palettes there. Point, you got your 3 different points that you can set. Image mode, digital, fusion, picture-in-picture, alignment. The alignment, I've heard people complain about it, and probably rightfully so. If you hit alignment, the lowest you can go down to is 0.5 meter. Now, what the alignment is how to line the visible camera up with the IR image, so they're overlaid on each other. 0.5 meter is still a pretty long way. If you are this, like as close as I am right here, well, you kind of, in fact, you can kind of see the image, the infrared versus the visible image isn't quite lined up. They're off. So it'd be nice to be able to have that down even lower. But anyway, 0.5 is the lowest you can go. Then you get into the settings. So of course you got language. The only 2 languages are Chinese and English. You got date and time, temperature unit, of course Celsius and Fahrenheit. We use Fahrenheit here in the United States. High-low alert. You got a high, you got a low, and you can set the high temperature and the low temperature, and then you can either turn it on or off. If you want the buzzer to beep whenever it hits the high or the low, you can do that. temperature scale, high gain and low gain. Now, in high gain, I think it goes up to, that's going to be on the low end of the scale, so it's going to be 5 degrees to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the low gain goes from 300 up to the 1022. So that's what that is. Display brightness, auto power off. I've got it set to 10 minutes, but you can either turn it completely off or go 5, 10, or 30 minutes. USB mode, you got USB disc or USB camera. This camera, this thermal imager will not do video, which is really kind of disappointing. It'd be nice if it would actually do video. You got your measurements. So this is the main one that you need to know about. So the emissivity, a very common number is this 0.95. Now you can change this to whatever you want. Well, within the emissivity scale, that's where that chart comes in, where you got to look at it and depending on the material, you want that set to as close as possible to get the most accurate temperature readings. Now, if it's not set right, and all you really care about is being able to see the differences in the heat, that's not really that important. And what I mean is that, we was looking at this camera right here, the security camera. Well, if you just wanted to see if it was turned on, you don't really need an accurate temperature reading. You just want to see if it's producing heat. If it's producing heat, then you know that it's actually on and using power. The actual accurate temperature, I really didn't care about that. As the way I'm going to use this, I don't really care about getting an accurate temperature reading. But if you do want an accurate temperature reading, you do need to have the emissivity set to the proper setting. And here's, the ambient temp. Now, I don't know. Whoops. Let me get out of that. Yeah, I don't know why you would set the ambient temp. But I'm sure there's a reason for it. I just don't know what it is. I cannot set the ambient temp on the Innova. That's where I was saying earlier, it'd be nice if the instruction manual would explain why and when you may want to set, say, the ambient temp to an actual ambient temp setting. And since that's not important to me, 75 is fine. Distance. This is where, if you're measuring something far away, then you may want to set the distance farther. And I can't remember what its max is. 4 meters. So it'll go up to 4 meters or down to whatever I had it set at, 0.25. So 1/4 of a meter. And I'll just do about 1/2 meter. And then let's go back to 1/2. Temp compensation, which I think is what that means. Not sure exactly what that's for. It looks like you can set this to a minus or positive number to kind of, I guess, skew the actual temperature of what this is picking up. So, okay, there we go. So let's see, let's go get out of that. System settings, device information. At this point, the firmware version is 1.1.23. This is for the 690B. I tried to find to see if there's a later firmware that you can download. Even on UTI's website, I couldn't find anything. I did a quick search on the internet, couldn't find any kind of firmware, not even any downloadable firmware, including this same version. And as you can see, I've got it's a 16 gig memory card, but it recognizes 14.43. Of course, you can do a factory reset. We're going to go ahead and format the card just to make sure that it is able to read it okay, since I just put it in. Okay. It's got autosave, yes and no. I'm not sure exactly. Again, that's where the manual would come in. When do you want autosave? I don't know. I know that to save a picture to the memory card, you just hit the trigger here. When you pull the trigger, it snaps the picture. So I don't know if autosave literally will auto do it, you know, every once a second. I don't know. Once a second, whatever. So let me go start up a car, and I'm going to show you some useful things that you can use this for on a car. Okay, so what I got here, I got both these cameras mounted to this mount so that I can kind of show you. Just real quick, let's see what these lights on this tree. So we've got a little tree here that's got some lights. Hopefully that's coming through. You can see those lights pretty dang clear on the UNI-T. And even though you can see them on the Innova, not quite as clear. So let's see what we got. I got the car running here. This is the Tacoma. You can see the exhaust down there. Nice even exhaust. There's the exhaust on the Innova. Now that would be where you'd want to actually change the gain. You can see the heater hoses are actually nice and warm, coming in nice and clear on the UNI-T. And even though you can see them, they're not quite as crisp and sharp as they are on the Innova, as they are here on the UNI-T. Take a look here. I just started this, so there's probably not going to be a lot of heat here on the junction box. But you can see the heat that's being generated going through the fuses. See what the Innova. There's the Innova. You know, just a little blurry. Still, you are able to pick up the heat. It's not near as crisp and sharp as it is here with the UNI-T. Let's see, what else we got? There's the oil filter. Now you really see the oil filter, it's having a hard time, but the Innova's having a hard time picking it up. The oil filter is just not putting off the heat that's needed for the Innova. But it's no problem with the UNI-T. Let's come over here to the Chevy. There's the exhaust on the GMC. Now the reason I'm focusing on the exhaust, you can clearly see the 4 exhaust runners. If you had a misfire and you was trying to figure out just real quick without doing anything which cylinder you was having a problem with, you could quickly look at those 4 runners and one of them would be colder than the other 3. If, let's say that you had, this is a V8, so if you had one cylinder that was not firing, it's not going to be producing the heat. So you'd quickly be able to use this to take a look at the exhaust manifold and tell that that cylinder, you know, wasn't firing. Now here's the same thing on the Innova, and you know you can still use the Innova to do that same thing. It's just not quite as, you know, crisp and sharp and detailed as what the you know, what the UNI-T is. Got a coolant hose right there that's putting out some heat. So you can see that the coolant, you know, is clearly flowing through that hose there. Thermostat hadn't opened, so you can see the dark hose. I think you can see it. You know, it hasn't started making any heat yet. So we're going to go into the GMC because this is another place where you can start troubleshooting. Let me turn this radio off, otherwise YouTube will get mad. Okay, so this truck has heated seats. And you can see the heating elements in the seats heating up. So if you was having problems with your heated seats, trying to figure out, you know, are they heating, are they not, you can clearly see that, you know, that which elements are heating, which, you know, which are not. Now, the Innova, same thing, but you can see the difference in the resolution. But you can still use the Innova for the same thing. Now we'll go to the steering wheel. Hopefully this comes through. The sun's got quite a bit of glare here, but try to block it. But you can see the steering wheel is nice and warm. Again, there's the Innova doing the same thing. See up there in the rear view mirror, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here. Now the camera's shut off. That's the auto shut off feature. Let me get it fired back up. Okay, we're back over here on the Tacoma. There's the exhaust on it, heater hoses, oil filter. So see if the thermostat's opened up on the Chevy or the GMC. There it goes, just opened up. Look how quick that picked that up. Anyway, just to kind of give you an idea, if you want a good thermal imager, I have been extremely happy with this one. Now, since that exhaust is so hot, I'm going to go ahead and scale this down. Let me get this in a spot where you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Now normally, if you don't have your menu up, you just hit the set button. We're going to go to, no, not that. We're going to go to low gain. And it takes a while. When you go to low gain or high gain, it takes a little while for it to make the change. Don't hit it. They recommend not hitting any buttons while you're doing this. Okay, now you can go back. Now you can see that it's not, you know, everything, you know, around that exhaust isn't glowing the way it was. It's just the exhaust. You know, so there's the heater hoses. You know, you can see that the temperature, it's shown to be about 540 degrees or so. There's the upper radiator hose, the little coolant hose, going over to the throttle body. We're back on the GMC. Take a look at the steering wheel and the seat with it on. And I'll take some pictures to, you know, to give you an idea of what the differences are between these two. So there's the seat with it on low gain. Hopefully you can remember what it looked like on high gain. Exhaust manifold. Anyway, that's about it. I just kind of wanted to show you. Oh, there's the fuses. That's another thing. If you've got a short and you're trying to find what circuit is pulling all the power, or you've got a battery that's running down overnight, just all kinds of stuff. You can use this to take a look and see what is drawing power and what's not. Anyway, that's about all I've got. I think for the money, this is hard to beat. I'm going to take some pictures of the same things with both the Innova and the UNI-T, so that you can kind of get an idea of what these things are capable of. And then hopefully you guys can get some information off this video to determine if you want to order one of these or not. I think for the money, it's going to be hard to beat. It's a very, very nice thermal imager. You guys take care. See you in the next one.